The second stimulus check bill was debuted today. It was detailed across this channel through several recordings. But the big question tonight is, what's the reaction? What's the reaction from congressional leaders? It only takes one negative vote in the Senate to kill it, only one negative vote in the House to kill it. And ultimately, when you look at the 5,000 pages, which probably takes you about 5 weeks to read it, are you going to agree to it or not agree to it? In this recording, I'm going to go over the deal provisions. I'm going to go over the good and the bad, the confusion and the clarity, and sort things through for you. Earlier today, I debuted a new show on this channel called Third Stimulus Check and Third Stimulus Package. That covers now the big Biden stimulus that's coming in January. In that recording every day, I'll now keep in that recording all the big things you're wanting and wondering for, like MSC, FPUC Retro, $2,400 of SSI and SSDI, hazard pay, the remainder of your $10,000 EIDL grant. That new show, Third Stimulus Check and Third Stimulus Package, will cover all that. This show is going to cover the second stimulus bill, the bill from today. What's included, what's not included, and what you should expect. This is Evenings LALATE. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Evenings LALATE, and I'm so glad you joined me in a day in which I'm trying to make things simple and easy breezy. And I really appreciate you for joining me. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe, because I'm delivering incredible recording that separates things and makes it very simple for you. I'm going live, I'm going taped. I'm answering your questions. I'm making programming that's very simple and very clear that separates all the different issues at play. And also, like this video. What you saw today is sort of the new merger, the new flavor of LALATE. I'm going to have three different subjects that are sort of carried across the same programming blocks that apparently is now causing crashes on the set. The nutcracker's getting his nuts. Well, anyway, you're going to see third stimulus package and third stimulus check in our new show, midday on Afternoons LA. You're going to see in this show, Evening's Check, the second stimulus check, which it has always been. And purple will stay as state stimulus, making it very clear. But when you need separate shows for different issues, like how do I get the remainder of $10,000 grant? How do I get this rent aid? Do I apply? I'll do separate shows for those as well. There's a lot breaking tonight. Hopefully there's no more set items breaking as well. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that some nuts are getting crashed on the nutcracker. But I'm here, you're here, and let's get to the deal items. The second stimulus bill was debuted earlier today. And as soon as it broke, the 5,000-page bill, I went through the deal provisions with you. If you missed that recording, this recaps that with additional new twists and turns tonight. A $600 stimulus check is proposed in the bill. That goes to individuals making $75,000 or less, $1,200 for couples making $150,000 or less per year, and $600 for children under the age of 17. This means that a family of four will receive $2,400. Pause. Yes, your question is answered. There is no stimulus check for adult dependents. Again, there's no check for adult dependents. The family of four is the limit. So if a single mom, 3 kids, all get checks. Single married couple, 5 kids? No, not all of them will get checks. Up to a family of 4, $2,400. Steve Mnuchin earlier today went on broadcast news and gave a lot of fake snake oil, saying you're getting a stimulus check next week, or at least implied it. His exact words is the stimulus check is going out next week. Yeah, it's going out by Pony Express, but no one's getting a stimulus check next week. And the implication was you are not. Repeat, you're not going to get a stimulus check next week. I'm sorry that he sort of made it sound like that. He should not have done it. It's really just not cool. You would get a stimulus check 10 days after it becomes law. It becomes law on Wednesday, out at 10 days if you sign up for electronic receipt for SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits. And if you're signed up for paper, add another week on top of that. Remember, stimulus checks are given to people on SSI and SSDI and Social Security and Railroad benefits and veterans. You are not going to get a stimulus check, however, if you are an adult dependent. All right, next. Small businesses. The EIDL grant was clarified in the deal provision that surfaced today, and it's not as robust as one had thought. No, you're not getting an EIDL grant, the remainder of your $10,000 grant. No, you're not getting an EIDL grant if you just applied for an EIDL loan recently and got it approved from this channel. No, you're not getting an EIDL grant if you applied for an EIDL grant in May and never got funded. That's all third stimulus, and that's why I have a new show called Third Stimulus Check and Third Stimulus Package. That's Biden stimulus. This is just EIDL grants for low-income communities. So very, very specific. PPP has been expanded for non-news organizations, TV and radio broadcasters, also nonprofits. That's really wonderful. And then they've increased debt funding for PPP for live venues, independent movie theaters, and cultural institutions, museums. Cultural institutions are not Nancy Pelosi's hairstylist. I had to put that in there. Sirloin is getting money again. Sirloin, what do you do? What do you do? The farmers and the cows are getting stimulus again. No joke. There will be $13 billion provided in stimulus checks additionally to farmers and ranchers who have suffered loss due to the pandemic. I don't know if it's going to be a stimulus check or if it's going to be EIDL grants. Really unclear from the language. Plus, there's a 15% increase for SNAP benefits. It does not increase the SNAP eligibility, but increases the amount by 15%, and then also provides additional money for senior nutrition programs and college students access to SNAPs. That's also really good. It's basically ensuring that of the $26 billion of nutrition and agriculture, that more money is given to people in need of food. This is all really great news. $10 billion allocated to childcare, and that's also great for parents who have problems paying for childcare, especially low-income parents. There's a new supplement of funds being provided to cover parents that cannot pay for childcare. Additionally, great news is $7 billion has been allocated for broadband for families who are financially strained. The financial strain will be alleviated by $7 billion that's allocated for broadband in low-income families and also rural families. So if you're having problems getting access to broadband because of where you geographically live, that also really helps. Next, schools will get an enormous amount of money, $82 billion. That includes everything from HBCUs, tribal colleges, minority services, Indian communities. It's ensuring that the air duct and the purification systems are cleaned and updated so they can combat COVID. It's a very big issue, and it's great that that's there. The rental assistance was one of the delightful surprises that's in here, but it's not as delightful as I would have liked it to be. Let me explain what's going on. I did not anticipate a rent assistance plan in here or any money for rent, but there is $25 billion for rent. This is great news. What's not particularly as great as would be, meaning I guess we'd call it good news, is that I don't like the way the program's being administered. Nancy Pelosi has always wanted a rent grant program done by the federal government, by a federal agency. You would apply and then it would pay to your landlord. Very simple. That's what I was hoping for. It's a great idea what she had devised. That's not this. This is basically the federal government is giving $25 billion to states, then the states are giving to the counties, and then the counties are giving to the cities, and then you apply and then you get it. It's the hot mess express that I'm dealing with on Purple every day. That I'm telling you, Harrisburg has a new rent program. San Diego County has it open, then it's closed. It's slow. This is not what I would have liked. It's slow. It's not quick. It is robust. It's $25 billion. It also includes $800 million for Native Americans, but I don't like the way it's administered. The other thing that's great in here, but not good, is there's an extension of the eviction moratorium. Why do I say it's not great? Because it's the CDC eviction moratorium. What is that darn CDC eviction moratorium? That's the one that was created by President Donald Trump. If you've been with me for a while, and if you've not subscribed, please do. Go to the front channel, subscribe, hit the alert button. I had urged the president all throughout the summer to do an eviction moratorium. He finally did one by executive order. It wasn't written right, so it didn't do anything. It was a mess. So I tweeted him, you did, and you did. And finally, he did one called the CDC eviction moratorium, which basically says you have to fill out paperwork, give it to your landlord, you use the CDC forms, it has to be their forms, it has to be done this way. If you don't do it this way, you don't get the protection. It's not a situation where you sit back and there's an eviction protection in place and just covers everyone. That's the way it should be done. That's not this one. So what it does, this bill, is it extends the Trump CDC eviction moratorium, which requires you to do paperwork. I don't like it, to January 31st of 2021. Again, a very short time frame and a very tedious way to get eviction protection. Meaning that if you don't do the paperwork, you don't get the protection. I don't like it. But at least it's something better than nothing. Next. Transportation, $45 billion. This is really big if you work for school buses or ferry or motor court or Amtrak or anything like that. It provides that you get paid your salary. Also, it has a very confusing but great provision in here, which I'm not going to go into. That's extra transit for elderly and people and seniors or low-income community. I love it. $45 billion, a lot of money. $69 billion for testing and tracing and the vaccine. This is really needed. And then some miscellaneous provisions. What are the miscellaneous provisions? Oh, you can deduct all your business meals for 2 years. That came from Donald Trump. Yeah, that's in there. So what's not in here, and we thought was going to be in here, we had presumed that a mortgage forbearance was in here. It's not in here. It makes me squirm to think it's not in here. And this is after 6 months of states not taking care of property owners and always taking care of tenants. This is basically saying the tenants can skip the rent. We'll give an eviction protection for the tenants, but the mortgage, if you go belly up, good luck, lose your property. How can you protect the tenant but not protect the property owner, especially in the case of landlord-tenant properties like single-family, like rental properties or commercial properties? It's scary. There is no moratorium there's no mortgage forbearance in here. I don't know why. Second, there's no student loan debt repayment in here. I don't know why either. As to that one, and as to the prior one, actually. But especially, let me go slower. As to the student loan debt repayment, Chuck Schumer has been publicly saying for days that he believes that Joe Biden could do that by executive order. I agree with Chuck. I think that the president-elect can do it the moment he's inaugurated into office. The question is, can you afford to start paying student debt for December when it expires to mid-January? It'll be, half a month. It's a little bit of a tightrope walk. The mortgage forbearance, Biden can also do that by executive order, just like Trump did. So I would assume that Biden would do this emergency executive order as soon as he comes in, along with a lot of executive orders like that one. But they should be in here. He should not have to clean this up. They should be in here. The things that are not in here, obviously a stimulus check for adult dependents, big issue. The things that are surprisingly good, that the number of checks in the household is larger than originally reported. It's a 4-person household. That is good. What is also good is that the eligibility criterion is still held at a relatively decent rate. The FPUC in the bill, also, which I forgot to cover, is now forward to March 14th, 2021. So UI, PUA, and FPUC together, the 3 instruments, would move forward to March 14th, 2021. Very simply said, if you were inactive, you would go back active, and they would provide coverage, provided you're still unemployed, and certified for benefits every week, all the way up to March 14th, 2021. There is no FPUC retroactive. That's third stimulus. Tuned in every day to third stimulus check and third stimulus package on this channel. And that would be taken by care of Biden. The EIDL grant is sort of bizarre. It's like, why do you do EIDL grant sort of this way and sort of not that way? But there you go. There is a round of PPP, and the PPP has some new provisions in it that are really good that were never in PPP before, like the ability to tax deduct some of the PPP in a way you couldn't do it before. But ultimately, viewers of the channel might be sitting back and saying, good bill, bad bill, crappy bill. What's your opinion of the bill, LALATE? Do you think it's going to pass? Here's my opinion. This is enormous. And my show and tell, this is not the bill. This is clearly 10 pages, not 5,000 pages. This is a summary of the bill. The 5,000-page bill, I'm not bringing on set. The 5,000-page bill is a surprise. No one thought the bill was going to be that robust, with that many provisions, over that many subjects, over that many items. So suddenly, as AOC said, you're not going to give me a bill and tell me 5 minutes to read and go vote. Well, you're not going to give me a 5,000-page bill and give me 1 day to vote either. This could take days to read through. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I really want to know who wrote this. I sort of want to know who wrote this. I just sense this was written by Nancy with Steve Mnuchin over the last few months. And that ultimately the language, remember how she hated his language and she wanted her language? I presume this is mostly her language. And that somewhere along the line, there's going to be a Republican that says, I hate that language. I just smell it coming. Do you smell it coming? I just smell it coming. So I expect problems. I expect problems. So do I think it's going to get passed on Wednesday? No. Do I think it's going to get passed by Friday? Hard to say. This is so overwhelmingly big and a behemoth that it almost sort of sounds like, surprise, go work right before you're about to fly back for Christmas. I wasn't expecting to read a 5,000-page bill, Nancy, before I was about to get on the plane. So what do you expect me to do? Just agree to it. That it sort of smells like that. So it could implode very quickly. Now, where is the resistance? What about Hawley? What about Sanders? What about the $600? I don't know. None of them have been very vocal. Sanders, Hawley just keeps on tweeting pictures of news articles about himself. So I sense a lot of grandstanding, and ultimately I don't know if it's going to become law. I presume it will. I'm going with the presumption it's going to become law, and that ultimately, yeah, they could have done a $1,200 stimulus check. They went for $600, but with now there's a lot of questions. The big thing that I want you to know, between you and I as a family and community of this channel, there's a lot of stuff in here you have to apply for. And with that, you will see videos coming forward on this channel about how to apply for the stuff. They are not live. This is not law. The programs are not available. Don't send me DMs or tweets to say, how do I apply? How do I get my application on file? How do I do this? How do I contact? What if this? None of these things have been formulated yet. So there's no answer to these questions. There's simply no answer to how do you do it. When things open, you will see me do it. Or when they're about to open, just like when I went live for PUA, when it was about to open, I'll make that recording as well. Join me next on Purple Power Live. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay that life for more.